great day to drive a convertible, isn't it? No, I'm kidding. Of course I am. It's a dreadful great day. And, well, I didn't bring a full convertible, but the Abarth 500 convertible with the kind of tent roof, which I really like because it doesn't have the downsides of a normal convertible, and you can just open the roof a bit when the sun starts shining, and I really do like this kind of roof. Okay, anyway, as I said, the Abarth 500, the new one, well, I shouldn't call it the 500 because everybody kept calling it the Fiat 500 Abarth, and they wanted you to call it the Abarth 500. So now they've named this the Abarth 595 Turismo. Well, the Turismo is the spec or the edition of the 595. You have the normal one, the Turismo, and the Competizione. And you have some Bipostos, which is the crazy special limited edition version. But I'll explain to you what that means in a few minutes. Let's just walk around it because it hasn't really changed much. There are the facelift elements you have on the normal 500, like these rear lights, which are a bit different because this now is in the body color. Here you can see the badge reminding you that this is a 595 and not a normal 500. We got this car from Vireo. Very kind of them to lend us this really cool Abarth. I really don't like these rims. They look a bit toyish to me. They are 17-inch. When you have a normal Abarth, the 145 version, you get 16-inch rims. These are 17. And this is the front, and I do think the front really looks very cool because, let me turn the lights on, then you get the best impression of the front. Yeah, the lights are on. Okay, because I think this looks cool. This looks like an angry little car. And you also have the fog lights in the body kit. They look really, really cool with the wide looking and low looking lights of the Abarth. I think it looks really, really cool. I do think it isn't that much different from the old Abarth 500C. So yeah, they could have done a little bit more, I think. Because even these rims, which I don't like, they're from the old Abarth 500. So if you don't want us to call it an Abarth 500, make it much more different instead of just subtle little things. Okay, let's get in and let's see what it's like to drive. Okay, subtle little things from the outside, but in here it's a bit better, I think, because the look and feel of this Abarth 595 is better than the old one. These seats really nice. This is the Turismo version, and then you get leather seats which look really good. The support, however, isn't that good, but then you should get the Competizione edition, which is the third power version, in which you get the sabled racing bucket seats. What I do really like is the gear lever in this one, because the normal one has this fat gear lever which really isn't very good or very nice to handle, and this really is. This is just a classic ball on a stick, and that's just what it needs to be in a car like this. The steering wheel is really nice. It's adjustable in height, so you know, you can get a acceptable steering position, because it's not really that good, because it should be like this, but my knees are a bit in the way. I can't adjust it in depth, so It's a bit tricky to get a good sitting position, mainly because of the seats, which are too high, and the steering wheel, which is not adjustable the way you want it to be. So you know, you're just looking for a okay seating position. Okay, let's start it up and let's see what it's like to drive. I'm going to start in non-sport mode. And in this review I can compare the Turismo edition with the Competizione edition, because Vireo Auto, the dealership of which I got this car, they also have a tuning company called Savali, which is a very old Alfa Romeo and Abarth tuner, and they now have given me the Competizione spec, so the 180 horsepower on the sport mode and the 165 on the non-sport mode, because they are basically the same engines with different software. Okay, let's start with 165 HP, so that's the Turismo version. And because this is the Turismo version, it means that I have normal Abarth dampers on the front and Koni dampers in the back on the rear axle. And if you have the Competizione, you get 4 Konis, you know, front axle, rear axle. And if you have the standard base level Abarth, you get just standard dampers all around. And I do get why they did only the back in the Turismo, only the rear axle, because this car is known for its tricky tail. When you lose it, you'll probably lose it over the rear axle, because it can be a bit weird in fast corners. So I think they changed it or upgraded it with the Koni dampers. But I do have to say, this is for people who really like to take their Abarth to the Nürburgring or to a track day, and then it gets useful to have Konis instead of the normal dampers. You know, on a road like this, in conditions like these, you know, it's wet, it's cold, you're not going to need them. Okay, so the engine, it's the 1.4 turbo from the older Abarth. It then had 135 HP. You now get 145 as base level, 165 in the Turismo, and 180 in the Competizione edition, and I think 200 in the Biposos, which just are crazy expensive and not very relevant because of it. And as I said, there isn't a difference between, in terms of hardware, between the Competizione and the Turismo version. And the guy who tunes these cars, software tuning, says, but let's just start with the 165 ponies, because I think it's quite enough. This car, actually, for its size, you know, it's really nice and fast. Picks up very good. It has quite a lot of torque, actually. You know, you don't need to shift down a lot. In fourth, through the corner, and it picks up really nicely. And the steering, I am now not in sport mode, and I think this is the way it should be. It has some weight to it. It's not too light, not too heavy. You get a bit of feel. It's really nice, actually. And the whole car actually feels very nice to me, because I've driven the old 500C and it was very wobbly. It wasn't very rigid, and the body stiffness of this 595C is really much better than the old one, because the old one, when you entered a corner, it was very wobbly, very insecure, and this is so much better. So they did a good job there. Okay, now let's switch to sport mode. And this wasn't me, I wasn't pushing the pedal, it's just the torque that makes it accelerate, you know. This is a bit of throttle, push sport, and there it goes. Okay, we now have competizione power, which means 180. Man, look how this thing goes with 180 HP. In third, push it. I think that's pretty crazy for such a small car. With the competizione, you also get a Monza race exhaust, because this one, yeah, it's a bit quiet, I have to say. And you also get the sabled racing seats, as I said, and then the seating position should be a lot better. But the power, man, it's really impressive. It really is. So standard, the Abarth 500 with 145 HP, it does 0 to 100 in 7.6. The Turismo does 7.3 and the Competizione does 6.7. So that's quite a difference. Okay. Pressure meter, the pressure is a lot higher than in the non-sport mode. Let's check it out. Let's just push it in second, and let's do it again in sport mode. Okay, watch the turbo meter. You know, that's like 0.8. Now get sport on. You know, it got in the red zone between 1.4 and 1.6, let's say 1.5 bars of turbo pressure. That's a lot. And it feels like a lot, because the power, the power delivery is quite aggressive, and the amount of torque it manages to generate is very impressive. Okay, since this is the convertible version, I will open the roof, although it's raining a bit. I do think it's a very cool roof. But as you might hear, it does give a lot of wind noise. And then you notice that it's not a... Wow! The ESP had to kick in there for a second. Okay, it's a bit noisy. I'm going to close it again. It needs a louder exhaust to push the wind noise down. So as you see, in these conditions, this car with 180 HP can be a bit tricky if you try to push it, because the front axle really can't handle the power in these conditions because of the short wheelbase and because it doesn't have a limited slip diff. It is optional on the Competizione edition. So if you're going to drive it in the wet and if you're going to drive it on a track, get the Competizione edition, forget the other ones, and maybe order the limited slip diff as well. And if you're just about the looks of the Abarth and you like the interior, the way the engine pulls, but you don't want it to be hardcore sporty, then the Turismo version is best for you. Thank you for watching this POV review of the Abarth 595C, and that's a cool dog. And let's see if I can get my hands on a Competizione edition, you know, with the crazy loud exhaust and the sabled racing seats. And well, let's see if the weather will be better then. I'd sure hope so. Thank you, bye.